This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
The Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Smith.
And now, your host, Kyle Yeomans.
Today is Thursday, April 20th, 2023, and officially 1 week out from the NFL Draft in Kansas City. Welcome into the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time as we welcome you back into the SWBC studios. We've got Brian Broaddus, Zach Wolchuk, Aisha Morrison. Chris Beam is back in the building. Jasmine Marshall back there doing a great job as well. I'm Kyle Yeomans. All right, 1 week out. Here we go. Mm-hmm. Buckle up, everybody.
Let's
if we
get
haven't
it.
been buckled in already, I mean.
Man, I'm getting buckled in now.
Yeah.
Oh,
you feel like
just now getting strapped in?
You guys feel like you're getting a pretty decent handle where some things might go? Not just so much for the Cowboys, but just kind of what positions you think where maybe some runs are going to happen. Mm-hmm. You got anybody people are going to trade up for? Talking about that. You got any of those guys in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we're going to see
crazy first round. What do you got?
The crazy first round. What do you? I don't know. I talked about Houston, right?
Yeah.
At 2, I think the crazy team that might make this very interesting is Tennessee. It seems like the Titans have been hunting quarterbacks. In Minnesota, we got the report that they were flirting with maybe another quarterback trade option with San Francisco. I think much like we saw last year with A.J. Brown, Hollywood Brown, you had night one trades. It might be players. You know, maybe that's when you see a Hopkins trade happen, you know, for instance. So now I think more than ever, it's not just about, hey, what is there a player that a team wants to trade up for? It's our teams moving picks to acquire veterans, which we haven't seen a ton of. Last year was really the start of that.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned Tennessee because if you saw them this past offseason, they had a lot of guys that were – if I'm not mistaken, like even Derrick Henry at some point in time, they were talking about they were kind of shopping him,
moving him, yeah.
So, and then I feel like they have other like defensive players as well that people were interested in. Like, hey, is this guy going to be a free agent? What is he going to do? So they do have some people on their team that have value. The Titans are no sleepers. Like the offensive side is where they struggle predominantly because of the quarterback. Sounds like they feel like they know what they have. And is it Malik?
Malik Willis. Yeah.
Malik
And I don't
Willis.
think they like what they have there.
I was going to let somebody else say it. I was just trying to throw it out there.
I think he's still a quarterback that can develop.
Me too. I liked him last year.
He'll be okay. But when it comes to their future, they really think that they can win now. Mm-hmm. Tennessee can't. So if you need to be aggressive, you need to go up and get somebody. That's one place that could possibly see that happen.
I'll tell you where I would be if the things that I'm studying right now, and I used to be in the pro side of things, so you got to figure out what teams' needs are and what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. Worry now about teams trading ahead of you. You know, who behind you can trade up. Kansas City, super aggressive. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia, super aggressive. New Orleans, super aggressive. Cincinnati, you know, you call Cincinnati and say, hey, Duke, Brian Broaddus here. You know, Duke Tobin. Then, hey, Brian, how's it going? Oh, great. Well, just want to make sure your phone worked. You know, usually Cincinnati's not a team that will move, you know.
Yeah.
Buffalo, there's another team. You know, maybe you know, teams are trying to find those pockets where there are players that they really, really like are going to potentially fall. And then how do you get to that spot to get there? So if you're the Cowboys, you have to do your homework in this one. Maybe somebody coming from the second round. Indianapolis, we'll see what they do up at the top of the board. There's talks. I mean, we've seen some stuff. I know on our show on 105.3 The Fan yesterday, we talked about, or maybe a couple days ago, about Bill Barnwell, I think, did a thing of possible trades. Yes. Mm-hmm. And one of the trades was Indianapolis coming from 35 to Dallas at 26. And then you picked up pick 106, which is a fourth round. Now, this is where it's interesting if you're interested in doing that. I said interesting a lot there.
That's okay.
But
It is interesting.
it is interesting. I say it that many times. If you're interested in that kind of a trade, if you're going to fall out of the first and go to 35 and to pick up 106, the way the draft breaks down is round 1 is the first night, 2 and 3 the second night, and then Saturday when we really start the marathon will be the start of round 4. Round 4, you tell me that pick at 106, that's the 4th pick to start the day.
Set the table, yeah?
Boom. Boom. And maybe it's one of those things, too, where you look at it and you say, well, it might be worth it to us to drop back to that 35, pick up 106, and now you're kind of cooking with grease a little bit there because you got that pick at 106, and then you've got your own pick down there at 129. So if it's worth it to you to entertain deals like that, I always felt like when you were dealing with the start of the 4th round, it was to start that day, people weren't going to let you in because they're guys that might have been on their board in the 3rd round that they're sleeping on it.
Yeah.
Now the draft is over after night 2, and they're looking at their board and they're going, we still got some 2nd-round guys up on that board. We got a 3rd-round guy up on that board we need to go get.
Well, think about last year specifically. They really wanted a tight end going into round number 4.
Yeah.
And then the first pick of the 4th round, Cade Otton, boom,
Yeah.
off the table.
Yeah.
A couple picks later, Daniel Bellinger, boom, off the table. I mean, if they go up and they set the table for day 3 last year, they might get one of those tight ends that they probably coveted more so than Jake Ferguson. They feel good about Jake. But they liked Otton and they liked Bellinger more in those
I'm
cases.
interested, and you're absolutely right. I am interested in trading with teams like Houston,
Okay.
Arizona, Indy, and maybe Seattle. Because what that does, I don't want to trade with teams that are on the back end of the draft because the picks, when we start to talk about the Indy pick that we just mentioned, that's the top of the 4th round.
Sure.
I'm not interested in your bottom of the round, 4th round pick that's almost like a 5.
Yeah.
I want some value. If I'm going to move, if I'm going to give up a 5th-year option, and maybe you give up a 5th-year option, the thing about it is I don't know if they would give up a 5th-year option for a running back.
No.
You know, if Bijan Robinson, if it looks like that Bijan, I honestly do believe they will take Bijan Robinson if he's there at 26.
Yeah.
I just think they will.
Oh, it might be the best value pick of the entire first round of the draft.
But you need his 5th-year option. It's got to be part of the equation. You know, somebody has to really make you want to get out of there to give that up. I think there's certain positions you could give up the 5th-year option and you're okay.
Like guard,
tight end, you know, stuff like that. I think running back, wide receiver, quarterbacks,
Tackles.
those guys. Yeah, you want that 5th-year option because you want that extra year of control. So to me, the 5th-year option, if Robinson's sliding in their intent, that might be hard for them to move. If Robinson's gone, I think they can make that trade, and then they could still grab the guard or the tight end that they want at 35.
So if you're talking best case scenario for a team that wants to trade up and you fall back into the front part of the 2nd round, would it be Bijan sitting there at 26, or would it be one of these quarterbacks? Like let's say a Hendon Hooker falls to 26. He's still on the board.
Yeah.
Teams want that extra year because he's not going to play in year one.
I think Zach, when he did the mock draft and he picked Hendon Hooker, and we all kind of looked at each other and went, all right, that's kind of fun, kind of creative. I think it's reality now.
Yeah.
I think it's reality for some teams that you know, like I say, the team that I would worry behind me, you know, that, like I say, those teams could be super aggressive in the way they do it. But, you know, look at a team like, what if Seattle goes through there? Now, Seattle's got a couple of picks in this thing that they can, you know, they can if they need a quarterback or talk about getting a quarterback, they kind of got those couple of picks to work with.
Yeah, because they
there.
have 5 and 20.
Yeah, but they could also be a team that trades back into this thing as well.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's kind of where. But I would be worried if I'm the Cowboys. If I'm the pro department, you know, the guys upstairs, I'm trying to gauge the teams behind me, what their needs are, who potentially could be there when we're doing these mock drafts, and start to plot that maybe that we might get traded ahead of if we're wanting to sit on some of these guys.
Well, let's play around with some of those scenarios a little bit, because even if you do stick in at 26 and you pick, there's going to be positions that you I don't want to say neglect, but you just push a little bit further down the way. Because if you pick a tight end, you don't have to really pick tight end the rest of the day, but you might have to go pick up an offensive lineman. You may have to go pick up a corner or a linebacker especially. So I want to give some day 2, day 3 options for if the Cowboys take their roadmap one way with positions in the first round.
Gotcha.
And how you could kind of be valued in the second round.
Okay.
And I want to start with offensive line. Let's say the Cowboys do not pick an offensive lineman in the first round.
Offensive lineman being a tackle or guard or just a guard?
We'll say a tackle or a guard.
Say
Okay.
Either or.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll say either or
Okay.
because I think both are on the table here, right?
Okay.
I do too.
So let's say offensive line, they do not pick one in the first round, which looks to be a possibility,
Yep.
if not a likelihood.
Right.
What are some day 2, day 3 guys you would feel very comfortable with being on your football team?
I think they would absolutely take Zavala from North Carolina State, the guard that Aisha has put us on.
She brought him up a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Zavala, I think Bradford from LSU would be a consideration there. Steen, the tackle from Alabama, I think would be a consideration there as well.
Talk to me. Y'all talk me into Bradford.
I'm all about Bradford.
Somebody do it.
Yeah, in the 4th round, I would be all about him. He doesn't look like an amazing athlete, but I think he moves well enough to get out in space. He plays with a ton of power, does a good job of pulling across the line to pick up Will Anderson, and he blocked him really well.
Yeah.
I think he gets mean. He is a mean blocker. He will pancake in the run game. He's got a good base, makes up for poor positioning, but gives a little shove to knock down a rusher if they get by him. He needs to get better with his hand fighting. That was the one thing about him. But I thought, you're playing against a big, talented player like Jalen Carter in the SEC championship game. He really wowed me in that one. He stood out. He flashed. And I think Anthony Bradford, to me, if you were to not get one of your guys in the first or second round, that would be my number 1 guard target in the 4th.
Okay, so to me, if it was guard targets, I like what you're saying. Aisha, do you have something? Did you see him and not? Do you have an opinion that you're going the other way on?
No, I just want to know more about him from y'all's perspective.
I would. All right, now if you're talking about, would you take a tackle? I mentioned Steen. I think Bergeron is gone in the 3rd round. So to me, if you told me, like, okay, I could get Bergeron. If Bergeron or Bradford's there in the 3rd, or Zavala, I'm taking Bergeron. Is who I'm taking.
Let me throw out this name for you guys. This would be a day 3 player.
I've got one after you.
Be later. And this guy to me is being slept on a little bit. Ryan Hayes from Michigan.
Okay.
Big guy, 6'7". I saw him throw people around, man. I watched him against Penn State, Iowa.
Where do you have him right now?
Probably the 5th.
That's I have him. Yeah, I have him as player 182. So go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
you there.
but I think he'd be great value.
5th round.
There.
Yeah.
He's got a good base. He's athletic. He can get out in space. Gets to the 2nd level. I thought he dominated Van Ness in the Iowa game. He fires off the ball. Yeah, that's true.
I'm just kidding.
Fires off the ball.
I'm just kidding.
Throwing shots. Drives in the run game. He's got power. I mean, heck, he was a starter for 2 college football playoff teams there at Michigan at left tackle. And to me, he's one of those guys. You look at experience, and we saw this with Runyon's son at Michigan as well.
God, I scouted his dad.
Yeah. Well, guess what? He's a starter in the NFL now, and he went late day 3 because people thought, oh, he's not that athletic. He's too tall. I think Ryan Hayes is a better prospect.
Yeah, I think you got the guy absolutely right. He was a starter at left tackle for Michigan. I think he will project to the right side.
Okay.
Is if what I would have to guess, because to me, I mean, he will surprise you with the movement that he gets in the running game. And I felt like that, the combo block stuff was really good. I think that's super important with what you have to deal with. I think there's some balance and position issues, but not to the point where he's going to end up on the ground.
Right.
And so that's where I kind of felt like, I don't know if I want him on the left side, but maybe as a right tackle.
I can see that.
But he does run his guy past the quarterback.
Yes.
I mean, he is going to not let that guy just have a free shot at his guy. So but watch that Iowa game, exactly what you're talking about. He gave up a little ground, but he kept himself between the defender and the quarterback. So I don't I think you're absolutely right. I think the 5th round, if you're looking at a guy like that, 6'6", we're on a really good offensive line, playing a lot of big games. I don't think Ryan Hayes is a bad get there.
Yeah. Also, too, I mean, I gave him crap when we first started the show because of all the smiling, but Blake Freeland out of BYU, I know you weren't a super fan because of
same bottle of wine for those guys. They're all in the same spot.
Them touching tags at 17 and 18 on my board.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Both huge guys. They lack the bend, right?
Yeah.
Because they're so tall, so they can get a little upright. But I think both show pretty good athleticism for their size.
Paint him. You should go paint him.
Oh, absolutely. He tested super well, obviously, but I feel like his arms are long enough to kind of deal with some of those edge rushers and keep him at bay. His initial punch is good. He can gather the contact. I said I didn't hate his pad level, the way I thought I would when I'm telling you when I heard Brian talking about it, I was
thought he was
dang.
goofy, huh?
I thought he was. Well, I saw how he tested at the combine. Very hard to ignore how well he tested. If I'm not mistaken, he has some lineage like his family's athletes or something like that. So, but when you look at tape, you say, yeah, he's tall. So is he going to deal with similar to kind of how you feel about DeJuan Jones? Like I'm scared about these edgy, bendy speed rushers coming across him, coming around him. But I think he's going to win with his lateral quickness, his feet.
That's you got him. Movement is key to this guy's game.
Yeah,
it is not about. But. I said for a tall guy, I didn't see great knee bend. I just didn't.
He's a little stiff.
And he's 6'8". Brian, what the hell you expect? Right. I mean, that's the kind of thing. But I think he needs to be in a scheme where it's more athletic-based than power-based.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Right, and I think Hayes is the opposite. I think Hayes plays with more power.
He's more of a power guy.
Well, which is what I personally feel like a lot of depending on the flavor, like you talk about your ice cream, is what I think a lot of offenses are looking for more athletic
I think you're
offensive line.
Get out in space.
I think you're right.
Because the guys, even the guys that have power, we're excited about their power, but how well do your feet move? Like that's the problem that people worry about with Osiris Torrance and stuff.
Yeah.
Like how well do you move? Yeah, I see the power, but can you get to the second level? We're doing a lot of stuff in space and stuff in this NFL. So these offensive linemen do need to be athletes. I think this guy could be in the 5th round. I mean, I know a lot of people have him in the like later rounds, but I think he can be late 4th, 5th round.
I've got him right there too.
I don't think you're wrong.
I'm with you. I'll throw one more name at you.
I had one though.
Okay, go for it.
Go
for
it.
So
maybe
you're wearing the sport.
I know.
You're wearing the sport coat today, so go for it.
It looks great.
Thanks, man. Jalen Duncan, offensive tackle from Maryland.
Ooh, okay.
Late day 2 guy.
He was
maybe
a guy.
3rd round guy.
He was a guy that Brian was kind of interested in early, but he kind of fell. I think he kind of fell off.
People kind of pushed him down the board a little bit.
I like him.
I want to hear it.
You want to hear it from me?
I want to hear it, right?
I got him in the 4th round.
Okay.
I got him. He's player 136 for me on my board. So you want me to get you the let me see Duncan here. Jalen Duncan, great way of spelling Jalen, by the way. Jaelyn. Love that.
Perfect.
He's a starter at left tackle for the Terps. He doesn't look as big on tape as he's listed. He's a really good foot athlete. The movement for a man his size, ease of movement to his game. He gets away from the line of scrimmage, absolutely no problem. No wasted movement, no laboring at all. Kicks back in position, balance, width. Hands are in position. He's ready to strike. The balance, the body control is all there. I mean, I don't see a guy that gets over the tops of his toes and gets top heavy. The base is ready to go. He can get some movement in the running game. He gets his block, keeps his feet going. He's got no problems to require the blocks that require him to reach or to cut off or to pull or any of that stuff. So the only thing is I kind of dinged him on is when he does get in space, he will locate his guy, but he needs a little bit better sustain. A little bit, that sometimes you get that one shot and then you kind of fall off. That happens to him sometimes in space. But my final line was big-time athlete for the position.
Very athletic. And Aisha, I don't know. I wonder if you agree with this. I did have a note that bull rushers will power him back into the lap of the quarterback.
Yeah, he leaves his chest open sometimes.
Play strength.
He leaves his chest open sometimes. Sometimes I think the hand fighting can get him. But he did, if I heard right, he was working in Dallas, training here in Dallas.
So is he with Duke and those guys?
So he might be. He's in close.
Okay.
He's in close proximity, somewhat. So
I like
he
that.
might be on the radar.
Keep an eye on him. That's kind of why
He's
I
a
bring
good
him up.
player and real good athlete for sure.
And I love working with you guys because my pros for him are his best trait is control and balance, like what Brian just said, and my cons are play strength and hand placement.
Look
So
at
you
us
guys are
agreeing.
killing it. Yeah,
If that's
this
the
is great.
case, if you're agreeing with us, then
I know,
you
we're
might
wrong
be in
on the
trouble.
player.
You might be in trouble.
No, Kyle's got a good eye on this
You
guy.
want to be a little bit like Aisha, where you don't always agree with us, and then that way, when it turns out she's right and we're wrong.
Okay, I do want to get to Twitter on the 20 quickly, but you had another name.
Yeah, just one name, and this is a small school cat. All right, Grand Valley State, Quentin Barrow. Yep, Quentin Barrow, small school. I watched. I was only able to find a couple games on him.
He's a tackle.
He started at
6'6",
left
330.
tackle.
Can you tell me what their nicknames are?
I think he's a guard. Grand Valley State, don't ask me questions.
The Lakers.
Okay? They're the Lakers?
Are they?
All
They're the
right,
Lakers.
perfect. That's. I guess there's a bunch of lakes there in the
How you
Grand
spell
Valley.
his first name?
I was about to say they're up in
Quentin,
Michigan. though.
Quinton, and then Barrow. And he's a guy that moves his feet really well. He's got
Yeah.
a solid base. I think he looks athletic enough to be able to move in space and pull. He's got a good skill set to work with. Like
Right.
he is a developmental player. I think he needs to improve his hand fighting, but he stays in front of his guy. He wins a lot of 1v1 opportunities. I think he's a fifth rounder that has value at guard with upside. So I'd kick him inside. I wouldn't play him at tackle, but as a small school prospect, I like him quite a bit.
He's 6'5", he's 330, and you're right. He was the left tackle for the Lakers. He doesn't give up any ground when you watch him. What he's
going to take over for Anthony Davis.
Are you having basketball flashbacks over there? I heard you on the radio talking
I'm not a
Golden
Lakers
State
fan.
Warriors last night. People don't know Aisha Aisha's like she knows more about this basketball stuff than anything.
I don't like the Lakers. My
But
bad.
yeah, you don't. I could tell in your way you were talking last night.
No need to apologize.
Yeah, you don't hide your feelings about that. But this guy's got excellent awareness and blocking vision when you watch him play. I mean, he's picky. He's always looking for someone to hit. He does have a nasty attitude because he'll try and finish his guys off. He buries opponents. He played in the East-West game, and he's not the most polished blocker, but I think he's got the right attitude about blocking.
Ooh, I like it. Small school guys. We're going to hit some small school guys in the third segment as well. Maybe some of these
are you
guys
doing
that
over
are
there?
under the
Excited.
radar.
She's jamming.
We're going to hit it in the third segment. But when we come back, we got some Twitter on the 20. You're going to want to stick around. This is the best Twitter on the 20 segment we've had all year long. And I'll tell you why when we come back right after this.
Hey Cowboys fans, if you're looking for a full-time or part-time job, check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. If you've got tax experience and want to help your community with their finances, you're the perfect candidate. No tax experience? We also offer in-person tax school courses locally. Liberty Tax has 79 locations across DFW and 2,300 offices nationwide. Learn more about our job opportunities at libertytax.com/hiring or call your local Liberty Tax office today.
Craving something flavorful? Replace that bloated burrito feeling with Smoothie King's new Power Meal Smoothies. With 3 delicious flavors like cinnamon banana, blueberry raspberry, and spinach pineapple, you can fill up on flavor, not calories. Each meal replacement smoothie is packed with 20 grams of protein, 7 grams of fiber, and 23 vitamins and minerals, all under 350 calories with 0 grams of added sugar. So next time you want something flavorful, swap fast food for a Power Meal Smoothie. Order today on the Smoothie King app. Smoothie King, the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion. When I played in the NFL at a high level, I relied on my vision to see the field. As I started getting older, I noticed my vision wasn't as good, and I was getting frustrated from wearing my glasses all day. I went to Laser Care Eye Center, and Dr. G talked about all the options. Thanks to technology and Laser Care Eye Center, I can see near, far, and between. Don't fumble your vision any longer. Visit them at dfweyes.com and tell them Darren sent you. They got me back on my game.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite and 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Back here on the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, the official beer of the Dallas Cowboys, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And it's time now for some
Twitter on the 20.
And here's the thing. This is the best Twitter on the 20 of the entire season. Because you know what? Draft season is about surprises. And I've got a surprise for you guys. Live from the actual home of the Lakers, out on the West Coast, not only is he a friend of the Draft Show, but he's also a rising star in the media and a former DallasCowboys.com staff writer. We have Mr. David Helman on the show. What's up, Dave?
Hollywood.
Someone's famous.
Can I just tell y'all something real quick?
Yes, please.
Every time I check in on the show, like I'm out here in regular media land where, you know, if you're talking draft, it's Bijan Robinson or quarterbacks. And every time I check in on the show, y'all are telling me about a guard from Grand Valley State.
It's stressful, ain't it?
That is the value of the draft show right there. Like, miss me with all the cliche stuff and just tell me about some badasses from the MEAC.
You know that bus league, man. You got to grab a player or two from the bus league, right? You know, got that.
I'm going to take everything I just learned in the first segment and pretend like I watched all those guys. So I appreciate it.
Well, you know what, David, I remember this about you when you came to work at DallasCowboys.com. Like, nobody wanted you on a show, but we took you on the draft show. So you're a big you're a big part of this, man. You're a big part of what we do.
You know, you're
on TV making hundreds of millions of dollars because you were on the draft show.
Hundreds of millions.
Let's not exaggerate.
All right.
Let's not do that. But no, but I think that's a good point. Maybe that's why I love the draft so much. Is it was the first like home I found in football media, and I'm glad y'all. Obviously, I'm glad y'all are carrying it on. But I'm loving the new cast. I love people getting a shot to show their stuff. Y'all are killing it, man. This is awesome.
I love the tour that we're getting of your
Dave. Why? It's like it's Blair Witch Project you're working on right now. What are you doing there?
Do y'all have? I didn't realize
you're on camera. Yeah, you're on camera. Yeah, you're drinking. You're drinking whiskey and you're on camera. So yeah,
I like the hood up.
It's coffee. Okay. Well, I'm glad y'all told me that before I changed outfits for the day.
We got to know. You got to go put on that royal blue blazer you wear with the green scarf or something.
Here's my glamorous Los Angeles apartment.
It's sideways, Dave.
It's sideways, Dave. You got the sideways cam going, Dave.
Yeah,
it's like you're a villain in Batman. There you go.
I'm 34,
Dave.
guys.
I'm sorry.
Technology doesn't cooperate with me the way it used to.
All right. Hey, you said national media. You talked about Bijan. Are people totally buying into all that? We all feel like that the Cowboys will take him if he's there at 26. Do you feel the same way, or are you kind of dancing somewhere else?
No, I mean, if Bijan's there, I think the Cowboys would run to the podium unless something crazier happened, like I don't know, if like a Jackson Smith and Jigba fell to 26 or something crazy like that, maybe you think about it. But I have a feeling I know for a fact Bijan's going to start being the best prospect on the board after like the 8th pick or maybe even earlier than that. So yeah, I absolutely think the Cowboys would do it. I just think you lose me when you're talking about like trading up into the teens to do it. That's the smokescreen that seems to be going on right now. But that's what I love about the draft show is like, I mean, y'all have cut through the BS like weeks ago. And I will say it seems like it's harder than ever to know what the Cowboys are doing, whether that's a credit to Mike McCarthy or whoever. But even still, I think if you listen to this show, you have a much better idea of what to expect than most. And yeah, if Bijan's there, I think they would do it. But other than that, I'm not expecting anything crazy.
What if Bijan's not available? If he's not there at all and he goes kind of where he's expected, like maybe in those teens, and the Cowboys stick and pick at 26, who do you think would be the most likely from the outside looking in like this of where they could end up being making that pick?
Okay, so
you're sitting down, by the way.
I
was really worried.
Relax,
I was really worried about you, man.
You and your motion.
I was getting. You know exactly what I was thinking.
The motion.
I love you, man. You knew exactly where I. He knows exactly. He knows me. He knows me. I swear to God,
he took credit for 10 years.
I get motion sickness when he's moving around like that. I couldn't even watch. Yeah.
Can you okay? Can I just use this space as
No,
a
talk
chance
about
to
a
tell
player.
you what I want?
Yeah,
please do.
No,
Please
yeah,
do.
that's what I'm gonna. Like we all know about the tight ends. We all know. I think Darnell Wright is obviously a name that's gotten a lot of attention in the last week or two. But the two names, if I could wave a magic wand and put a guy on the team, the two I'll say two because they play the same position. I love Nolan Smith, even more realistically than that, just reading tea leaves and connecting the dots, and talking to people back in Dallas. Will McDonald would make me incredibly happy, and it sounds like the DC loves him. Obviously, Dan Quinn worked him out just like he worked out Sam Williams last year. I think Will McDonald is a badass. I think he would be there. I think he fits what Dan Quinn likes to do. I watched him at Iowa State. I don't really think they knew what they were doing with him.
Nope.
Yeah.
Say that.
I would be ecstatic about that pick. I think, we sit here and say, oh, you don't really have any needs. Take the best guy available. Well, Will McDonald plays a premium position. You wouldn't need him to do a ton right away because obviously the pass rush has plenty of veterans. But the long-term future of DeMarcus Lawrence is a question mark. Dante Fowler's only back for 1 year. You don't 100% know what you have in Sam. And I love the thought of having pass rushers. So either one of those two, Nolan Smith or Will McDonald, would make me very, very happy. But I feel like there's more smoke about Will McDonald. Like I haven't really heard anything about Nolan Smith and the Cowboys, although the way the Cowboys have played it the last few years, maybe that's a good thing. They've done a much better job at keeping it close to the chest than they did in previous years.
Yeah. Dave, do you think that maybe they feel like that Nolan Smith might not be there? That kind of maybe that's why we're not hearing a bunch of the smoke, because there's not a lot of smoke about Bijan Robinson either, other than the stuff that people on the national level and what we're talking about here on the draft show. But is it one of those things where they're like, could it be CeeDee Lamb all over in that draft, where all of a sudden one of those guys shows up and you just hand the card in and away we go?
Absolutely. And everything I know about Nolan Smith is he's the type, I don't get the impression you need to do a ton of homework on him.
No.
Like he seems like a high character kid, high football IQ kid. That's possible. I think he's interesting to me because his size, he's only like 235, 240 pounds. His size, like the range of where he falls is all over the place. Like some people have him as like a surefire top 15 pick. Some people think of him more in Dallas's range because of the size. I don't think he should be there when the Cowboys pick. But if he is, I would be very, very excited if they draft him.
Yeah, I'd have a party for Nolan Smith. Are you anti-tight end in the first round?
I can feel the anti. I can feel it through the phone.
No, that's not true. So here's my thing. It's honestly very similar to Bijan Robinson, and I actually wrote a story about it for Fox the other I guess a month or so ago at this point. Is just the track record of first round tight end sucks. There's no way around it. It's not good. But the same way we talk about there being a massive difference between drafting Bijan at 26 and drafting Zeke at 4, we say this every single year. There's only like 16 or 17 first round grades. Pick 26 is first round in name only. So I don't hate drafting a tight end, although I will say this is just me. I feel like Brian may be going to argue with me. I don't know. But give me Michael. Give me the sure thing. If that's what we're doing, give me Michael Mayer. Give me the ready-made guy that can do it all right away. Don't draft traits guy. Don't draft traits guy at 26. Don't draft project guy or Luke Musgraves, the guy who barely played because of injuries. I'm terrified of Dalton Kincaid. I'm terrified of Luke Musgrave. Michael Mayer is maybe not a sexy pick, but I'd be happy with it.
Kincaid, the problem with Kincaid, is it the back? Is it something like that?
The back doesn't help, but then I watched a few of his games. I'm not going to lie and say I watched every game he's played, but I watched a handful of games and I was like, this guy is the same problem with every young tight end ever, which is to say he doesn't help you in the running game at all, which say what you will, but the Cowboys want to do that. Like, it's fine for you and me to say, so what? He's going to stretch the seam. But you got to draft for the team that you're drafting for the team that you have. And the Cowboys want to run the hell out of the ball. Mike McCarthy said it himself. So I don't want the guy who you're going to get down inside the 10-yard line and he's not going to be able to help. He's going to be playing Olay like a bullfighter with defenders. No, thank you. I don't think Dalton Kincaid is a plus blocker, and the injury bothers me. So give me, of the big ones, I'd be happy with Darnell Washington too. Give me the guys that can actually help in the run game in addition to being very good receivers.
Yeah, he lit us up in the SEC championship game, catching the ball down the middle of the field and stuff. I mean, every time you watch Washington in the red zone, he's tough like that. Dave, real quick on I'm interested about the quarterbacks with you with Hendon Hooker, Richardson. Who you taking of those two guys, if just from the quarterback perspective?
Where are we talking about?
I'm just talking about who do you like? If you had to take Hendon Hooker or you had to take Richardson, which one would you take? Because there's people that think
would you take either in the first round?
Would you take either one of them? Yeah.
I think after a certain point, Anthony Richardson scares the hell out of me because again, Brian, you and I are SEC football fanatics. I'm wearing an LSU hoodie right now.
Yeah.
My thing with quarterbacks is at some point I would like to see it. I would actually like to see it in a game. I would like to see you. I think in order to be a top tier quarterback prospect, you should have at some point lifted your program to a level that it hasn't been before. And that's why I was anti Daniel Jones. I was anti Josh Allen, which that one obviously I blew up in my face. But I want to see you do it at the college level to spend a big pick on you. So Anthony Richardson scares the hell out of me. But if you're talking outside the top 20, all bets are off. After that point, I would take a chance on his physical abilities that. He's too talented to ignore after a certain point. But it's just the top 5 is where I'm what are we doing here? I've watched this guy play, and I just feel like I should have seen it if he was really worth that type of pick.
All right, so while you rep your LSU Tiger gear, I got to ask you about Kayshon Boutte. He might be one of the more confusing prospects in this class. He could end up being maybe the best receiver.
We haven't talked about him at all.
Or he could be out of the freaking league in a couple of years.
If you had asked me this question in September, I would have been first round pick, top of the line. What are we even talking about, man? I think starting in the 4th round, I think you talk about it because the talent, there is talent there. There's production. He's one of the best receivers in the league for 2 years. But turn on the 2022 tape and I don't see it. No. The concentration isn't there. The attention to detail, just drop after drop after drop. He had a few good games. He had a really nice game against Florida. But the concentration, I think being such a big time prospect completely went to his head. They lost a game and he deleted his Instagram. And then he didn't play in the bowl game because of some off-field stuff, which if you want to have a fun afternoon, search that on the internet and see what comes up.
It's a heck of a party there in Atlanta.
A lot of trains.
Yeah. He had a good time in Atlanta from what it sounds like. I've said this a million times. If you're an old school listener of the show, I owe it to you to say it at least once. The top 100 are the picks that I really value on a different level. Mm-hmm. I would not spend a top 100 pick on him. Like I said, starting in the 4th round, you could talk me into it because of the body of work, but I don't feel good about it. And it sucks too. Because like I said, I think he was on his way to being a top 20 pick and the wheels completely fell off on field production wise and off field ability too.
Dave, I'm going to make your head explode even more now. Eli Ricks. Alabama. It went from LSU to Alabama.
No.
So,
Amen. Amen, Dave. Tell him no.
Go Tigers.
We got some
what do you think about Ricks, Brian?
I'll tell you what. You watched the Mississippi State game. you would take him in the first round the way he played in that football game.
That was the best game, yeah.
And the thing about it is,
okay. What about all the other games?
Well, that's what I'm saying though. There's games where to me, I don't think you've seen this guy play a lot of football. That's the problem I have with this guy. But you know how we always when we were working together, Dave, it was always like if you see it once, you can see it again, kind of thing. I think this guy's all over the board. I really do. I think there's some people that really, really like him, you know, for his ability, the length, the way he plays. And then there's some that like, oh, no, mom and dad are too involved, this, that, and the other, you know, kind of a thing. He's a coddled player. You know, he never could get settled. You know, why did it not always work at Alabama? I just think he's one of those guys that to me is really a mystery, but he's got ability. That's the thing that I'm kind of the scout in me is like, you know, looking at right now.
I hate to judge one player for the transgressions of another, but it just sounded like you could have just taken the name out of that, and it's even similar because he started at the same school. You could take the name
Kelvin
out of
Joseph.
that, and it sounds like you're talking about Kelvin Joseph.
Oh, barnacles.
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like. I mean, like, look. There's no doubt in my mind that he's talented, but look, like I hope anybody that knows me like I have an objective view about this stuff outside of the moment. Like I don't care that Eli Ricks left LSU if he thought that was the best opportunity for him, but he went to a new school, struggled to find any consistency, like wasn't a mainstay on the field all the time. And then on top of that, like by virtue of going there, I have connections at LSU. Not a whole lot great to say about him on his way out the door. And the production's not there. I don't know. Again, like once you get to a certain point, I think the talent is enough that you take a chance on him. But like, again, we're talking, I keep seeing all these mock drafts where people are drafting Eli Ricks in the top 100. And I'm like, why? That feels so rich to me.
See, that's what I'm saying though. Nobody can figure out
doesn't match.
Yeah, that's the thing about it is, do you wonder if teams are like kind of turning away from the you know, maybe Nick Saban is actually saying some good things about him. You know, I don't know, but you do watch him play, and
it's in Nick Saban's best interest to get his players drafted. So I don't really know how much I care about that.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
I mean, look. This is the ultimate. This is me and Brian in a nutshell. Is like Brian wants to take the chance on the talented guy, and I like the safe thing. Like I want the guy that I feel like I'm not going to have to worry about. And I know you can't have that every single time, but like let that be somebody else's problem. Or again,
let somebody else be a hero.
Round of the draft,
right?
Yeah.
Let Seattle take a hero.
Let me have the Michael Mayers of the world and just be like, yeah, we're going to, you know, this will be great. It's boring, but we're going to have productive football players that we don't have to worry about.
So I haven't got to call you a coward then in a long time, right? Man. Is that right?
I'm a draft coward, Brian. I'm a draft coward.
You're not being a coward about Ricks.
I don't like to.
Oh, man. You got to
Thank you. I just.
Hey, Dave. So I wanted to ask you, Taisha, by the way, but I wanted to ask.
I know. Let's go. Come on.
So a lot of talk about offensive line, man. Like, is there one position on the Cowboys right now that you feel like if you plug and play one of these draft players in the first round, like they're gonna get better, they're gonna take that next step, and it can really make a difference next year? What position is it for you? Don't say one.
I mean, not counting Bijan, right? Because that goes. I mean, if you plug him into that offense, I do think he would be incredibly successful. I know that that's not really the point. Plug and play. I mean, I think that's probably why I've talked myself into Michael Mayer, because I think he steps right in and is a part of that rotation immediately. Like maybe he's not a 100% of the snaps player, but like 60 or more, he would be part of your 12 personnel package with Jake Ferguson. He might be your starting regular tight end over Jake Ferguson. I think he could step in and catch 40 plus balls right away. I don't think that's a stretch. I mean, I know another guy that's really popular, like Steve Avila, however you pronounce it, from TCU. Like, Yes, absolutely. Like steps right in and upgrades the offensive line. My thing is, it's just the classic case of 26 feels too soon and 58 feels too late. So I don't really know how to answer that question, but I think he would absolutely upgrade the offensive line right away. And that's why, if they did decide to draft him at 26, I'm at the point with these guys, and I think Tyler Smith really hammered it home last year, where I'm just like, all right, do what you want to do, and I'm going to wait and see how it plays out before I get too upset, because I think Will McClay and his guys have earned the benefit of the doubt. So if they were to draft somebody like him at 26, I would be like, yeah, this is probably going to work, and people probably aren't going to have too much to say 6 months from now.
There you go.
Okay, so if you want to get a little crazy with me here, Dave, sure thing. We want to fix this offensive line. Why don't we go up and go get Pete Skoronski?
Why? Like, what are we giving up to go up? That's what I always ask.
You're
like,
probably
why?
having
Why
to
are
give
we
up a
doing that?
2
Yep.
to go up and get him.
Yep.
But your offensive line is solidified.
Just by the reaction and then the sip of the coffee, he's not interested.
Here's my thing, and I'm stealing this talking point from other people. I definitely didn't come up with it, but like,
no, you made it on TV doing this.
Fake it till you make it, Brian.
I gotta go. No, I think there's a whole Brian throwing me off as usual. I think there's a whole generation of Cowboy fans who, they saw how well it worked to just throw first round picks at the offensive line. And it did work, but I'm just like, how many resources do you need to use on the O-line in order for it to be successful? Like, why is this team the only team that can't find badasses on day 2 and day 3? And Tyler Biadasz has developed into a nice player, but Connor Williams and Connor McGovern never really stuck the way people wanted them to.
Yeah.
None of the mid-round investments they've made at tackle have really worked out from Chaz Green on down. But you should be able to. If you've got Zach Martin and you've got Tyler Smith and Tyron Smith is still giving you something, you should be able to find a left guard without trading up into the top 12 to do it and getting rid of another pick, by the way. The second round pick could be Cedric Tillman or a tight end if you don't take a tight end in the first round.
Yeah.
I love having those picks too much. And at some point, the Cowboys should be able to find a guard somewhere other than the top 15. That's just how I feel about it.
And I don't think you're the only one that feels that way either. I think the people across the building probably feel that way more so than they do on the other side of it, of potentially trading up and going and using those picks.
Freaking cowards, man.
Cowards, right? Dave, real quickly, we got to let you go. But before we do, number one draft need for the Cowboys, they have to leave next weekend with this position group. Who do they need to go get? And it's like a non-negotiable.
Having just said that I wouldn't do that trade, I think the only non-negotiable is that they've got to find some competition at the left guard spot.
Say that.
If you look at the roster, that's really the only spot. Like, if they don't get a cornerback, it's a problem for next year, but they can get through this year. If they don't get a running back, Ronald Jones, Tony Pollard, and Ezekiel Elliott, you can get through the season with that. I'm just saying, every position group on the team, defensive tackles the same way. Would you love to add to it? Of course, but
what about linebacker?
Can you play games with? Again, linebacker is another spot where I think they need help. Don't get me wrong, but I always keep in the back of my mind, Jaron Curse and Donovan Wilson are basically linebackers anyway. They're asked to do so much stuff in the box that when you add those two with Leighton and Clark and Cox, it's not good, but it could be good enough. Whereas guard, maybe it's just because I haven't seen Udoma play yet, but I just look at left guard and I'm like, I don't think you want to play a game with what you have there, at least not without having a competition. So, not saying it has to be the first round, but one of those first 4 picks, I feel like, needs to be an interior offensive lineman.
How about that? A little breaking news from David Helman of Fox Sports. Ezekiel Elliott is returning to the Dallas Cowboys for the 2023 season. Yeah.
Aggregate that. Throw that up there.
No. Dave, we love you. We appreciate you. We miss you every day here on the Draft Show. We keep up with you the entire time. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep doing the good work out there, buddy.
Hey, I'm not kidding. I keep an eye on y'all too. I love the Draft Show. I love that y'all are still doing this. Best of luck next week. I am going to have some serious FOMO when the draft rolls around, and I'm not going through every pick with y'all. So
doors always open.
Yeah, pop on anytime, man.
Just put on that tie, David. Come on.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Beamer and see if we can work something out. But if I don't see you kill it this season, thanks for having me on.
Yep, appreciate you, Dave. We'll talk to you soon. There he goes, David Helman.
Bougie with his coffee now.
Oh, the coffee and then the tour around the apartment was an unknown. Talk about draft seasons full of surprises. That's part of it.
That was a good surprise.
All right, let's take our second break. When we come back, we're going to give you some under-the-radar prospects to maybe keep an eye on. The guys that David Helman really wants to hear about, these under-the-radar guys on day 3. When we come back right after this with more of the Draft Show.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com is one of the most trusted ways to buy, sell, and trade crypto. Whether you're always on the go or stay closer to home, Blockchain.com is just a few taps away. Put the power of crypto in your pocket, so no matter where you are, you can trade on your terms and build a crypto portfolio to fit your life. For crypto pros, rookies, and anyone in between, Blockchain.com makes it easy to own a piece of the future. Blockchain.com, trusted by millions, trusted by America's team.
In a stressful world, Lincoln provides balance and calm amidst the chaos by creating sanctuaries that move you through the world with ease. Our vehicles make your time richer and more uplifting with human-centric design, intelligent technology, and powerful performance. As the official luxury vehicle of the Dallas Cowboys, driving a Lincoln is just another way to show your team pride. Experience our full lineup of luxury vehicles, including the Corsair, Aviator, Navigator, and Nautilus at Lincoln.com.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, sinking, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Back here on the Draft Show, wrapping things up, presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time. Let's dive into some of these under-the-radar prospects. Again, special thanks to David Helman for hopping on. Always a pleasure getting to talk with him. And Aisha, I want to start with you. There was a Twitter conversation that really sparked this the other day where somebody was asking about some of these small school guys, maybe even HBCUs, these group of 5, maybe lower level prospects. Anybody that catch your mind, catch your eye?
Yeah, so I got a couple of guys, but I'm going to start with Jadakiss Bonds, wide receiver out of Hampton. 6'4", 210. This guy can run. He can run pretty much every route to my knowledge, and he can get behind you real quick. Like, he doesn't have a lot of speed, but he just has the timing. Some guys just have the timing to get behind guys and to create separation. This gentleman can high point the ball. He has a lot of control over his body, and he's one of those guys that can contort at the very last minute and make the catch. I think he is a red zone threat. I like how fluid he is, and he really trusts his hands. He's hard to tackle in the open field. I think the only thing people would be worried about is just because of his size and his frame or whatever, as far as like blocking and things like that. But I think that he could come in and be a receiver that could contribute to a team as like the third. Or
Looks
fourth
like
guy,
the highlights are pretty good.
Yeah, no, the guy's a baller, and he's a smart football player. He can play. I think he can play all over the field, and so you're getting a baller that understands that he had to work his way up. Also, too, a lot of respect for him in the HBCU community for what he does, and I wanted to bring attention to him. Also, too, Stephen F. Austin guy that I was looking at, B.J. Thompson.
Yes, corner.
DN,
sorry.
No combine invite. This gentleman is a Baylor transfer. He ran a 4.56 in his 40 at 20 and a half sacks.
Nice.
Over his time there. Had a really good Shrine Bowl 6'5" frame. It really pops out on the field. You see him, you just like, holy crap. I said that when I see him, his stance, he looks like Venom. Venom, like
yeah.
Because he pounces almost seriously, he pounces.
Hey, give me a Venom, especially as an edge rusher.
Yeah, the explosion out of his stance is what he wins with, dude. He wins with that initial step. He has a lot of burst, and his strides are long. He needs to be stronger in the run game, just kind of setting the edge, basic D and stuff, in my opinion. And if you mention the competition or whatever the case may be, I mean, like I said, you can go look at him in the Shrine Bowl playing against some of the best people, and you can see that he's good. And we talked to Will McClay at the Combine, and he mentioned the P word, which is production, and this guy has it.
Had it.
And like I said, also, too, he has coverage ability as well. He showed the ability to drop in coverage even as a DN and be fluid there. Natural reactor, heck of a player. I think that he can make a difference on a team real quick because he's a pass rush specialist.
I called 2 of his games this year, and in one game he had multiple sacks, and the other game he had multiple PBUs. So, I mean, you talk about production. Man. He's doing it on both levels. And SFA had a really good defense at the FCS level. They were really solid on that side of things. So he was a big part of that going forward. Brian, who's your guy?
I'm going to switch it up on you. And there's a lot of people talking about Marte Mapu from Sac State. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy that's making the 30 visit circle because he didn't go to the Combine. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I think that people were talking about him as the Senior Bowl guy and stuff like that. He's really, really, really explosive in the way that he plays. He's a linebacker safety type of a guy. He lines up in the deep slot quite a bit. I'd say he's not afraid to hit, but I wouldn't call him a great tackler from the games. I'd say he's always near the pile, but not always in the pile. I thought there was more zone coverage than man. He tends to kind of hang in the area and react from there. His time speed was 4.58, but I never really saw him cut it loose in these games. But he appeared more explosive, and you watch him in the drills at the Senior Bowl than how he played at Sac State. And they were a team. I watched them play Incarnate Word and Richmond. Those were playoff games that they were in. But the coaches swear this guy's a student of the game. Like I say, 30-visit guy. The best thing he does is come downhill and attack the ball. I'm not really sure how much you really want to put him in coverage. We'll see when he gets to the next level.
I think he is. When I looked at him, I immediately put down C.J. Goodwin replacement ?
Ooh.
I think he could come in for a team and be an absolute gunner. And if you, because I think he might go in the later rounds.
Yeah.
If you wanted him to come in and be a straight up gunner, he could do it.
Special teams versatility.
And special teams matters out here in these
Absolutely.
streets. So,
It does. What do you think, Zach?
Let me give you a Princeton wide receiver, Andre Yoshivas, and this dude's a playmaker. I watched him against Yale, Cornell, and Harvard, and if you want to see him dominate against Ivy League lower-level competition, he does just that. He's a vertical threat. He's got good long speed. He's got a high point and adjust to the football. Runs a lot of drags and crossers. He's got a feel for working underneath and getting open. I think he's got good, reliable hands. He seems like a guy that would work well, in my opinion, in a West Coast offense that the Cowboys are going to try and run. He does need to improve as a route runner. You see him kind of run the same routes over and over again. Needs to get a little bit stronger, but I think he's a very good day 3 prospect that could develop into a really good value pick. Big fan of this kid out of Princeton.
Talk your stuff then.
I like that. Lower level competition. Okay, I've got one. This is Ikena Unechukwu from Rice.
You just wanted to say his name.
Say it again.
I don't think I said it right, though, because my computer is currently being hacked. And, that's not an exaggeration, by the way.
It's having
so I don't have, Hellman, they saw an opportunity.
Bad juju.
And so I don't have my pronunciation guide up, but I have my scouting report up. And it says, explosive off the line of scrimmage and most physical player on the field in majority of his games. He has a combo of strength and quickness that could still improve with room to grow into his frame. He wasn't clean enough with his hands to detach from blockers on the outside, mostly one with power as opposed to finesse. On the other side of it, production. You talked about production. 2-time first-team All-Conference USA. He was the best player on that Owls defense, and he's the first one that Mike Bloomgren, I had a phone call with him earlier in the year. He's the head coach at Rice. I said, who's your glue guy? Who's the number one guy? If you had to build around, he said, Unechukwu is the guy. He is my dude. Student of the game, continue to play good. And if you want to see him against high-level competition, he had an impressive game when he had a sack against Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams, took him down to the backfield against USC in the season opener, and he had a batted down pass in that game as well. So he plays a little
Will
bit of both ways.
McClay's a Rice alum, too, so keep an eye on that. I might go get him a Rice guy.
Somebody else up there is at Rice. I see helmets on their desk.
I know Will is for sure.
So there you go. Maybe go get
Shout
you a
out to
Rice
the Owls.
Owl. So a couple things to keep
Feisty
an eye on.
Nightbirds.
Very nice. All right, that does it for us. Next time we're on the air, it's going to be draft week.
Let's
How
go.
about that?
How about
we might have an extra show for you next week, and we might have an extra special guest for you next week as well. We'll let you know depending on the schedule changes, but we definitely will be back next week as the draft is upon us. For Chris Beam, Brian Broaddus, Zach Wolchuk, Aisha Morrison, and our friend David Helman out in L.A., I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Draft Show. We'll see you next week. It's draft time, Cowboys Nation.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.